Okay, so we spent a lot of time talking about engaging on and with content on LinkedIn, how to share content and ideas, how to engage with a comment and a reply and the share and the send button, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of good, powerful ways to engage on LinkedIn, but there's far more that you can do. So let's talk about another way you can build your brand on LinkedIn, and that's through messaging. Now you can see that the LinkedIn's making some changes recently to the messaging platform. I have focused messaging. These are messages that I've had that have been ongoing or I'm having with people who I engage with on a regular basis. This other box these are messages that come in from people who I don't know. They're who have not engaged with in any way yet. And so I've got to look at these and decide how I want to engage with these. But what I really want to share with you here is that you can be very purposeful about building your brand through messaging. So I am very deliberate about using LinkedIn messaging to invite people to a conversation. I do not pitch, I don't sell, I don't make offers through LinkedIn messaging. I use it to pull people into the right conversations. And because I'm a Calendly guy, when I send someone a message and they indicate that they'd like to talk, then I give them my Calendly link, either a 1-hour link, a 30-minute link, or a 15-minute link, depending upon what the conversation is going to be all about. And if all I'm trying to do is, move them forward in a conversation off of LinkedIn, I only need 15 minutes. If I want to try to put something together, I may use a 30-minute. If I really want to dig into a longer conversation, I do the hour. But I only give out the amount of time that I believe it'll take to have that conversation off of LinkedIn. And it may be that we start with a 15-minute conversation and then go to a 30 or go to a 1 hour. Use LinkedIn messaging to pull people into a conversation off of LinkedIn where you can have a more deliberate, focused engagement that may lead to some opportunity. So a few other things to think about when you're using LinkedIn messaging is this. Think about the words that you are using. Make the conversation all about the other person. Check your grammar. Check your spell checking. If you're going to give them a link, make sure you test that link off of your messaging first so you know that link will work. The worst thing you can do, maybe, there's a lot of worse things you can do, a big mistake you could make in LinkedIn messaging is to use the wrong words, say it the wrong way, or give them inaccurate or incomplete information. And by the way, keep your messaging short and simple. Don't write huge, long messages to people. Again, the goal is to invite them into a deeper conversation off of LinkedIn. You can see I did that with this guy here this morning. I basically just asked him, 4 lines. Would you be willing to have a conversation with this lady? And he came back and said, absolutely. And so then I said, I will email you. I took the conversation off of LinkedIn and took it into email. So think about the messaging you use on LinkedIn. Think about being succinct and clear and simple. By the way, just so you know, there's a lot of other things you can do with LinkedIn messaging. Let me go get a message. Let me set one up here. Give me 1 second. Just did a quick little test because I just discovered that not only can I put an image, PNG, JPEG, whatever, I can attach almost any kind of file I want to attach. There might be a size limitation. I haven't tested that. I can put a GIF and I can put an emoticon. But I can also, besides typing text in here, I can also put a hyperlink to something, a hyperlink to a YouTube video, Google Docs, wherever any web page. I can actually put an email address in here if I want them to have an email address. The one thing that LinkedIn does, and I kind of wish it wouldn't do, and that is when you put a hyperlink or a URL to something, it resolves that and shows the image of that URL. Sometimes I wish it didn't do that because it's a little, cluttery, but it does just the same, and so I've learned to accept it and work through it. But LinkedIn messaging, again, you can share lots of great ideas and information and content, but be very succinct, be very clear, and don't send stuff to people who don't know you or who are not expecting what you're going to send to them. So that's just a few thoughts about LinkedIn messaging. One more note to understand is that on the mobile device, you have the ability to send a video message or an audio message. Now, I'm not going to show you how to do it. It's really pretty easy to do, but I recommend you go practice it. Practice with somebody you know so you understand how to create a video message that looks good and is still succinct and clear, and how to do an audio message so that it, again, is also succinct and clear. It's worth experimenting with. I don't use it often, but I do use it every now and then. And I find in some cases it creates value. Let's talk about another place that your brand can be presented and where you can develop it. And that's through invitations. So if I go to my network, and if I go see all, and in my course on how to do LinkedIn networking, I talk about why you would manage from see all. I'll show you why. So not only can I see the invites that I've gotten, but I can see the invites that I've sent. Now you'll notice that every single invite I send out, I'm very purposeful about including a LinkedIn, an invite message. I never send an invite out without including a message. Now, the words I use in my LinkedIn invite message are not, hey, we have mutual connections, or not, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn network. Do not use the words and phrases that when you get those, you're frustrated and you're like, why do people send those invite messages to me? Instead, do the research on the person you want to connect with, and in your message, reference what you discovered about them that's interesting, intriguing, relevant to you, so that they know that you spent time to learn more about them. And I sent an invite to this gentleman named Ken. I found him on the Delaware Valley PMI website. Now, I sent him a message through there as well, and I followed up here. But be very deliberate, very transparent, be very friendly. The goal of a LinkedIn invite is one thing, that is to make a connection. Nothing else. Do not use a LinkedIn invite to do a sales pitch. Instead, focus on that one goal, and that is to connect. Everything else comes after that. It might be multiple steps after that. But again, in your LinkedIn invite messaging, grammar, spell check, read it out loud. It's the best way to check it, is to read it out loud. And then once you've just confirmed it says what you want to say, then you can hit the invite button and send that invite message out. By the way, the other side of this is that when people send you an invite, I get invites all the time. I do not accept an invite from someone I do not know. What I do first is I message them back. And I message them back and engage with them in some way to see if they will engage with me. I'm very deliberate about that. I do not want to connect with people on LinkedIn who are not able or willing to engage with me, at the very least in the beginning of the relationship. So do that, because that really will help, set the framework, set that expectation that when you message me, I'm going to message you back. And by the way, don't let invites pile up for months at a time. That's a bad branding tactic as well. If someone sends you an invite, you want to respond to them in a timely fashion. Within a couple days is normally what I would expect. Because if you don't respond to them for a month, then your brand is clearly saying that these people are not important to you. And I will tell you right now, I've seen occasions where people got LinkedIn invites, they didn't respond back in a month, and they lost an opportunity. So don't let that happen to you either. So be very deliberate about the messaging you use on LinkedIn, whether it's through messaging or through invitations. And remember, your goal, whether it's through messaging or invitations, your goal is to connect. Messaging, your goal is to see if you can move the right people into a conversation off of LinkedIn. Don't go for anything more than that, because that is what you really are trying to do. At the end of the day, we're trying to have a real conversation with people. And often the best conversations are not on LinkedIn. They're Zoom conversations. They're telephone conversations. They're in real life conversations. Focus on trying to achieve that. Let's move to an area of LinkedIn that I really struggle with getting value from, but I would be amiss if I didn't explain them to you and get you to consider how you're using them and what value you can get from them. LinkedIn groups is one area of LinkedIn that I struggle to get value from. Primarily because there's not a lot of people spending time in LinkedIn groups. Now, there's a lot of people. This is not one of the groups. There's a lot of this is only one. This is 1 month old here. There are a lot of people who what I refer to as dump content in LinkedIn groups all the time. And unfortunately, they're dumping content into an area of LinkedIn where there's little to no engagement. Let's go linking Winston-Salem. The only people sharing content in LinkedIn Winston-Salem is my buddy Randy, and every now and then I do, just letting people know about our event. I mean, here's a few other conversations that are going on, but there's no engagement. This group has got almost 4,000 members. There's little to no engagement in these groups, even this content, and so for that reason, there's less opportunity for meaningful engagement in LinkedIn groups. Now, that being said, there is the opportunity for you to go look at these 3,795 members, go hit show all, and you can find a member of a group that you want to have a conversation with. And even if you're not connected, second level, third level, or not connected, I have the ability to message Anissa or Rosa or Matthew. Now, I wouldn't do either if I look at their profile and discover they're not actually using LinkedIn. They're just on LinkedIn. If I go look at her profile, right click, open in a new tab, and I look at that and I look at her activity. Now, one day ago, 4 days ago, so she does use it. So she's on LinkedIn. So she is likely to see the message I send her. But anytime you're going to engage with people in a LinkedIn group, open their profile up and make sure they're actually using LinkedIn so there's a possibility they'll see your message. B, you can only send a message to a group member that you are not connected with from this group page. You've got to be in the group to be able to send the message to them. And last thing to really think about in the context of engaging and building a brand and building a relationship with these people is don't send them a message and try to pitch them. Instead, send them a message and ask them something about themselves. Ask about, have they gotten any value from the group? Make the conversation, as Dale Carnegie told me, make the conversation all about the other person until they give you permission to make it about you. But you can go look at her profile, get some insights on her, learn a little bit more about what she's doing now, what she just recently posted, and then you could message her from here and say to her, Rose, I looked at your profile and I saw this and I was really intrigued and thought I would say hello. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what you're doing. Do you have a time to talk? And this is a great way to start building some rapport with people that you want to connect with. And then you can connect with them, and then you can move the conversation and the engagement further along. And remember, make the conversation all about them until they give you permission to make it about you. But I really don't get a lot of value today in most LinkedIn groups by sharing or engaging on content in LinkedIn groups. I just don't see a lot of value to spend a lot of time in there today. Let's talk about LinkedIn pages for a minute. Now, this is one of my LinkedIn company pages right here. I am the admin of it. And one of the things that I recommend you do, besides make sure you have a strategy for making sure your page is up to date, kept up to date, you're inviting followers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, what you should seriously consider about is sharing content to your company page on a frequency that you can sustain. For me, it's about once a month. People come to my personal profile a long time before they come to my company page. So about once a month, I share content. Exactly the same philosophies that we've talked about in sharing content through your personal profile apply here. Exactly. No variation at all. Share content that's relevant, useful, beneficial to your target audience. Mention people when you want to mention people. Mention companies when you want to mention companies. Um, Give your target audience content that can be helpful to them. 9 times out of 10, it's not about your company. That 1 time out of 10, it can be about your company, your products, your services, etc., etc. But always be looking for sharing content onto your company page. Again, at a frequency you can sustain, using exactly the same philosophies we've already talked about in the context of sharing to your personal profile. Additionally, anytime someone comes to your content on your company page and they engage with your content on your company page, you've got to come back. Let's see if I did that. I'm pretty sure I did. You've got to come back and you need to engage with the individual who engaged with you. And you have two choices on a company page that you're an admin of. I can engage as the company, or I can switch my identity and I can engage as Teddy with Sid. So when I go to reply, I'm engaging as Teddy versus the company page. So you can switch and do whatever is appropriate. And if you had multiple employees, there's nothing wrong with where relevant and appropriate for another employee to come here, whether they're an admin or not, and switch their identity from being the company to being themselves, and let another employee engage with Sid as well. But my point is to let you know this: never let content, never let engagement on your content go unresponded. You must always respond. And the goal of that response is to see if you can pull that person, in this case Sid, see if you can pull them into a deeper conversation. Again, where relevant and appropriate. Again, share content at a pace that you can sustain. Follow the same philosophies as I've already shared with you about sharing content on your personal profile, and never let a response to any of your content go unresponded to. Not only on your own company page, but I'll go, let's just go to IBM because I know there's a lot of content there. Go to the company page, IBM. Now let's say IBM is a target company or a client of mine. I'm going to, on a regular basis, I should come back here and look and see what they're talking about. Look and see what the conversation is. This is 6 days ago they posted that. And if I see a conversation going on that's relevant to me and relevant to what I do in some way or another with IBM, then I should come down here and comment. Should look for ways to engage with your target audience at their company page. By the way, if you're on IBM's company page and you see content, and the marketing department or the people who post this content for IBM is not your target audience, not your ideal client, not the person that you're trying to develop a relationship with, where relevant and appropriate, you can comment and mention that person. So you can comment on IBM's page. The marketing department will get notified that you did that. Tag the person that you're trying to develop a relationship with or doing work with at IBM, and they will get notified as well that you mentioned them on this IBM post. So there's lots of different ways to engage. You can even engage through the company page and pull your target audience into those conversations. Again, where relevant and appropriate. The last big section I want to share with you is what's called LinkedIn's creator mode. This is a set of tools for content creators who want to do just a little bit more, maybe a lot more, using LinkedIn to build their brand through content. Now, I'm not going to show you everything about LinkedIn's creator mode, but I am going to introduce you to some of the primary functionality. So first of all, when you turn creator mode on, I'll show you what to turn on. You know it's on because your LinkedIn profile and everybody else is using creator mode. It's going to have this thing called Talks About. Additionally, it's going to have your followers. It shows the number of people following you. For most people, that's the same as connections. For those of us who are creators, that number may be significantly larger than the number of connections I have. Additionally, you can see now here under resources that creator mode is on. So that right there, you only see that on your profile. Resources, you only see it on your profile. You don't see it on anybody else's. So that tells me that creator mode is on. Again, if I look at somebody else's, I see this, and followers, I know they have creator mode turned on. Now, with creator mode turned on, what can you get to? First of all, let's come down here and look at creator mode. If I click on this, there's my topics, so I can edit this and I can change my topics. Turn these off, turn them back on, but you get 5 hashtags available for your topics section. Additionally, once you have creator mode turned on, you will see that you have access to LinkedIn Live, and I'll basically show that to you in a minute. You have access to audio event, and you have access to newsletters. So let's talk about these creator tools at a higher level. First of all, LinkedIn Live. LinkedIn Live really doesn't happen so much in LinkedIn as it does outside of LinkedIn. I use a tool, there's different tools for doing lives. I use a tool called Restream.com. So I connected Restream to my LinkedIn account. Here's the destination. I've connected Restream to my LinkedIn account. And then when I go live on Restream, go to the studio, enter the studio. When I go live, then that will broadcast into LinkedIn as a LinkedIn Live. Now, you want to let your LinkedIn network know about these events. You want to let your LinkedIn network be aware of it so they can show up. And one way of doing that, let me close this down. Let me come out of the studio. And one way to let your network know that you're going to do a LinkedIn Live is to go to the home page, come down here to event, and add an event. And you put an image, who's the organizer, your personal profile, or your company page. If it's a LinkedIn Live, it's going to be an online. You see the event here, it says LinkedIn Live. So I select a LinkedIn Live. I give it a name. When's it going to be? I give it a description so they know what's coming. Add extra speakers. And when I publish this, it'll publish an event on LinkedIn only to alert anybody who wants to come to it. People can say, I want to attend. They'll show up. They may chat on the event. But the real purpose for LinkedIn Live to create an event is just to alert your network and others on LinkedIn that you're going to do a LinkedIn Live on this day and time. But all of the work for producing a LinkedIn Live happens in a third-party tool like StreamYard or Restream, and there are others that you can use as well. I went the Restream route because I actually produce and start my LinkedIn Live event in Zoom. Zoom broadcasts into Restream, and Restream broadcasts to LinkedIn. And I can broadcast to my other places as well. I actually broadcast to LinkedIn and to NC Wiseman on a regular basis. So that's basically what a LinkedIn Live is. Again, it's an event that can be promoted on LinkedIn through events. And when you do a LinkedIn Live, your LinkedIn network and anybody else on LinkedIn can join the LinkedIn Live and listen and watch. They can't engage beyond chat. But I do a LinkedIn Live every week. And you can see my LinkedIn Lives here. I go to my post and activity, come to my post, and then scroll down, and you can see, here's a LinkedIn Live right here. This was previously live. And this is an event that we had with Sarah Rosinski and my buddy Randy Wooden. Again, we did it in Zoom. We used Restream to publish it into LinkedIn as a LinkedIn Live. And you can see that 3 people touched it, 1 person shared it, and it's got a bunch of eyeballs on it, even though this has already happened. But people can still watch this event, even though it was previously live. It's recorded on LinkedIn. So it's definitely worth considering if you're a podcaster or a YouTuber, or you like creating video and you want to create content that can support your brand through good conversations that you have on video and publish them into LinkedIn. So let's talk about LinkedIn audio events. An audio event is an event that happens on LinkedIn. It starts on LinkedIn, you produce it on LinkedIn, and people see it all on LinkedIn. Again, it starts from the event, so you create a new event. And when you create an event, again, a cover image is good, online event, and it's LinkedIn audio event. And you give it a name, when you're going to have it, when you're going to stop it. You got to put both of those in there. 5,000 characters worth of describing what the event's going to be all about. And then you can have additional speakers as well. Now, when you create the event, once you fill this all out and hit next, again, the event is going to alert your network that you're going to have a LinkedIn audio event. And the way you execute a LinkedIn audio event is right before the audio event's supposed to go live. So let's say you're going to do it at 6 o'clock. And around 5:45 or 5:50, you've got to get on the event and you start it. And then once you get it started at 6 o'clock, if I'm going to do it at 6 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, it opens up for LinkedIn members who are seeing it to join the audio event. And so they'll show up in the audience. And then you can invite people from the audience on stage. And when they're on stage, they can participate in the audio conversation. The audience can only listen to the audio conversation and or chat while the conversation is going on, but they can't participate in the verbal conversation. Again, similar to LinkedIn Lives, a LinkedIn audio event is a great tool for you to have conversations that are highly relevant to your target audience. You can talk about things that are of interest to them, relevant to them in lots of different ways. I would encourage you to be 90% of a LinkedIn audio event should not be about your business, maybe a little bit about your business, but use a LinkedIn audio event, a LinkedIn Live event, the same way you use any other content on LinkedIn, and give content, give ideas, perspectives, information, knowledge to your target audience, and give a little bit about about your business and a little bit about your services. Because the more you give them what they want, the more likely they'll listen to what you want them to hear in the context of your business, your products, and your services. Probably the best way to practice and experiment with creating a live audio or a LinkedIn Live event is to create one and go experiment with them. Again, if you're going to do a LinkedIn Live, you got to use Restream or StreamYard, and there's a subscription fee to using those tools. But if you're serious about creating audio content or video content, it may very well be worth experimenting with using LinkedIn Audio or LinkedIn Live. Now let's talk about the third component of the content creator mode, and that is newsletters. LinkedIn newsletters are based off of LinkedIn articles. So I can publish an article as Teddy Burriss, hit next. And now it says, it wants me to create a newsletter. Now, I'm not ready to do that, so I can't click on that right now. But the way it works is when you create a newsletter, you then, every time you write an article on LinkedIn, it will send an article via email to everyone who subscribes to your newsletter. So the very first article, once you create a newsletter, the very first article you write will be sent to all of your followers, which is pretty significant messaging that goes out. They have the ability to view the newest article you wrote, and then they can click on subscribe. And when they subscribe to your article / your newsletter, then every subsequent article that you write will be sent to everyone who subscribes to your newsletter. Now, you can generate more subscribers along the way. You don't need to just rely on that very first article you wrote. You can publish articles and share them in LinkedIn and share them through Twitter and Facebook and wherever else you want to share them. And you can generate more subscribers, because when they come to LinkedIn, as they're logged in LinkedIn, that anybody who views your article who is not already subscribed will have the subscribe button. the context here, or the value here, is if you like to write content, if you like to create articles and tell stories that are relevant and useful, of interest to your target audience, then writing articles and using newsletters could be a great way to build your brand. Because again, it's another channel for you to give your followers, subscribers, content that again is highly relevant and of benefit to them. So in a big picture, the whole idea of using creator mode is all around the context of you wanting to create. And if you like to create LinkedIn live videos, LinkedIn audio events, or newsletters, and you have the wherewithal to do that kind of work, it is a very powerful set of tools that you can use to build your brand through content. And furthermore, with newsletters and articles and events and LinkedIn Lives, you can get engagement, and you can engage with those the subscribers, the listeners, the people who are watching your LinkedIn audio. You can engage with them directly and indirectly, which is again more ways to build your brand and for people to discover who you are and what you're all about. Let me close this. Now, I've given you lots of ideas on how to engage with your network on LinkedIn. Most importantly, engage with your target audience through your LinkedIn profile, through your providing services page, through your messaging, through your posts, through your comments, through your LinkedIn invites, and through your company page and groups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a whole lot for you to go practice, a whole lot for you to go experiment with. Don't go rushing through this. Go forth and try some of these ideas. Go forth and experiment with some of these ideas. If they don't work the way you expected them to do, sit back and think about, what did I do and how could I have done it differently? How could I have used different words and made the conversation more about my target audience? Because at the end of the day, listening and watching this course is not going to make you better. What's going to make you better is you go and experimenting and practicing, trying stuff and learning from your mistakes, and trying harder and doing it differently and doing it better. It's not a race. Remember, it's absolutely a journey. But I can promise you this: when you learn how to engage with your target audience, and when you make that engagement first and foremost all about them until they give you permission to make it about you, engagement is the magic sauce of using LinkedIn as a business tool. Practice it and get better at it, and you'll create far greater value for your career or your business. Thank you for showing up and taking this course.